You ever fall off a roof and just know, before you even hit the ground, that the next 3 months of your life are gonna suck? Yeah. That was me. I'd been up there replacing a ridge vent in Altoona. Dead of January. Wind biting through 3 layers of flannel and thermal like it wanted a piece of my soul. There was black ice on the west slope. I saw it a split second too late, like spotting a cop in the rear view when you're already going 15 over. My boot slipped. Gravity did its thing. And just like that, I became a human sack of hammers falling 2 stories onto a bed of frozen mulch. Clean break of the tibia. Compound. Pretty 2 bone poking through like a bad magic trick. 1 ambulance ride, a surgery, 6 screws, and a titanium rod later, and suddenly I'm Ricky the roofer turned Ricky the recliner man. I'm not a guy who likes to sit still. I don't even sit down for meals half the time. So when the doctor said minimum 8 weeks, non-weight bearing, I knew I was in for hell, but I didn't know the worst part yet. Not the pain. Not the physical therapy. Not the sponge baths from a nurse named Trevor who refused to make eye contact. No. The real pain was wearing leopard print slippers and carrying a Hello Kitty laundry basket. Because Donna was coming. Luann, my wife of 22 years and objectively the kindest woman I've ever met, made the call. Mama's gonna come stay a while, just until you're back on your feet, she said like it was a casserole delivery and not a full-blown regime change. Now, let me explain Donna to you. Imagine if Martha Stewart and Nurse Ratched had a child together during a thunderstorm at a Cracker Barrel. Donna is that child. She's 68, built like a bird feeder but twice as aggressive, and she walks into every room like she owns it, even if she's never seen it before. She wears orthopedic Crocs with rhinestones and carries a purse so big I'm convinced she smuggles raccoons for side cash. She showed up the day I got home from the hospital. 1 wheeled suitcase, 1 leopard print duffel, and a whole lot of unsolicited opinions. Her first words weren't, "How are you, Ricky?" or, "I'm glad you're alive." Nope, they were, "This house smells like grease and socks. We'll be fixing that." And oh, fix it she did. By day 2, she'd rearranged the kitchen. Spices organized by country of origin. My jerky stash confiscated and replaced with quinoa bars that tasted like punishment. My recliner, my throne, the only thing I had left, was turned away from the TV to reduce screen strain. Day 3, she installed one of those over-the-door organizer things in the bathroom and labeled my shampoo with a passive-aggressive post-it note, "Too harsh for aging scalps," and I couldn't even escape. I was on painkillers that made me see colors that didn't exist. I had a cast that went up to mid-thigh. I needed help going to the damn toilet, and Donna was thrilled to oblige. Every time she handed me my crutches, she did it like she was doing missionary work, like I was some pitiful orphan she'd taken in. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there in basketball shorts and compression socks feeling like a grown-ass infant in his own damn house. It wasn't just the control. It was the tone. The little chuckles she made when I tried to protest. "Oh, sweetheart, just rest. Let the adults handle things." She'd say it with that syrupy drawl that made it sound almost sweet, until you remembered she was the reason your coffee now tasted like grass and regret. And then the neighbors started coming around, saying how nice the house looked. "Donna's really turned things around here," they said. And Donna? She'd smile, like the cat who not only ate the canary but built a decorative birdcage out of its bones. And that's when I knew. It wasn't just that she'd taken over the house. She was starting to take over me. But I'm not the kind of man who yells. I'm not the kind who throws punches or stomps off in a rage. I've spent my life climbing steep roofs in freezing wind. I know how to wait, how to be still, because sometimes revenge needs to be cooked low and slow. And Donna? She was about to get served. There's a moment about 2 weeks into my captivity, because that's what it was, let's not sugarcoat it, where I found myself in the kitchen at 3 a.m., 1 crutch under each arm, trying to quietly microwave a frozen sausage biscuit I'd hidden behind the frozen spinach Donna kept insisting we try sometime. And there she was, sitting in the dark, at the kitchen table, in a damn robe, just sipping tea. Like she was expecting me. "You're not supposed to be on your feet at night," she said, all calm and measured. Like she was a nurse and I was a fall-risk patient who'd just soiled the hallway rug. I jumped, nearly fell. "Jesus, Donna, what are you doing?" "Sometimes I pray when I can't sleep," she said, looking right at me. "But go ahead. Enjoy your mystery meat." Then she stood up, took her mug, and floated off into the darkness like a specter in fuzzy slippers. That was Donna in a nutshell, sweet-sounding words dipped in arsenic. To outsiders, she was helping. That's the thing. It looked like she was helping. Meals were made, laundry folded, my meds organized in a little pill carousel. She even drove me to my first physical therapy appointment, though she talked the entire ride about how men get soft when they're idle and how her father never sat still a day in his life, even with a hernia the size of a baseball. It's like she was trying to gaslight me into believing she wasn't slowly replacing me in my own home. Luann, bless her, saw some of it. She's no fool. But she was working full-time, running errands, keeping up with bills while I was horizontal for most of the day watching cable news reruns and trying not to scream. And Donna? She weaponized that gap. One day I heard her on the phone with her sister. "Oh, he's in no shape to manage a household, not anymore. I think he needs to accept some help from women who know how to keep things from falling apart. Not anymore." Those words stuck with me like a splinter you can't dig out. Then came the bunco night. I didn't even know what the hell bunco was. I just knew a dozen loud women descended on my house one Thursday night, each bringing a casserole that smelled like either boiled despair or pineapple upside-down sadness. And there was Donna in the middle of it all, hosting. Laughing. Taking credit for the ambience of my living room, which now had lavender-scented candles and a framed quote that said, "A clean home is a happy home." Someone complimented her curtains. She smiled and said, "Yes, I finally got this place feeling like it should." Finally. She said it like the past 15 years Luann and I lived here was just the before shot in a home renovation TV show and Donna was the dramatic reveal. I couldn't do much physically. Couldn't drive. Couldn't even shower without balancing on one foot like a flamingo. But my mind? Oh, my mind was limber. And sitting there in the kitchen watching my frozen biscuit spin in the microwave while Donna hummed Amazing Grace from her room, I realized something crucial. I didn't have to kick her out. I just had to make her want to leave. But first, I needed leverage. And like a miracle, I already knew where to look. Thursday night bingo. Her one true love. Her kingdom, her sanctuary, her drug. She once missed her own brother's funeral because Thursday night is sacred. I swear to God. And she had no idea that the man she thought was too broken to fight back had just found her pressure point. Because I may have been stuck on the ground. But that didn't mean I couldn't aim high. If you've never seen a Pennsylvania fire hall on a Thursday night, let me paint the picture for you. The place smells like burnt Perigese and off-brand Lysol. The air's thick with arthritis cream, polyester static, and the quiet buzz of decades-old grudges. And at the center of it all? Bingo. Not the fun kind either. Not the drink wine with your girlfriends and laugh about it kind. No. This is serious bingo. This is Bloodsport with daubers. There's strategy, superstition, politics. And Donna? Donna was royalty. I'd heard the stories over the years. She wasn't just a regular player, she was a fixture. Same seat, same purple cushion, same bag of sour cream chips she'd eat slowly like a queen feeding pigeons. She'd sit with her circle of lifers Nancy, Marge, Loretta, and one woman named June who only spoke in whispered judgment, and together they made up what I eventually learned was called the front row coven. Donna loved bingo more than she loved her own daughter, if we're being honest. Luann even joked about it once. If I disappeared and Thursday night bingo still happened, Mom wouldn't notice for at least 2 weeks. Well, now she was gone every Thursday from 5:30 to 9:15 like clockwork. It was my only stretch of peace each week when I could eat actual food and watch TV that didn't involve British people cooking in tents. But this time I didn't rest. I planned. One afternoon I asked Luann offhandedly if the fire hall ever needed volunteers. She lit up. That'd be great for you. Get you back into the swing of things. Keep your mind busy. Donna barely looked up from her crossword. Just muttered, "Hope it's not bingo night. That's our community's night." I smiled. Yeah, community's important. Next week, I called the fire hall. Turns out bingo night was run by a rotating cast of volunteers, most of them semi-retired or local high schoolers doing service hours. They had a few no-shows lately. Needed help pushing snacks, checking cards, cleaning up. I didn't mention my connection to Donna. Just said I was looking to get out of the house. Are you mobile? The organizer asked. I'm determined, I said. They signed me up. That Thursday, I got dropped off early. Lewin kissed me on the cheek and said, I'm proud of you for doing something, even if it's just pushing pudding cups. I hobbled into the fire hall like a man on a mission, and I'll be honest, it felt good. The noise, the motion, the low hum of people living their tiny, odd lives. It wasn't much, but it wasn't my living room, and that was enough. I took it all in, the layout, the process, the rhythm. Bingo cards were handed out from a central table. Every player had to use cards from that night's print stack. No exceptions. They were color-coded, tracked, and verified after every winning call. But I also noticed the chaos. Late arrivals. People swapping cards when the caller wasn't looking. One old guy spilled his coffee and threw off a whole row. There was room for sleight of hand. By the time Donna walked in with her purple coat and her sour cream chips, I already knew her seat, her pattern, her habits. I didn't make eye contact, didn't even glance at her, because this wasn't about being seen. This was about watching. I was laying ground, getting the rhythm, learning the heartbeat of her kingdom, because soon I was going to stop it, mid-beat. By week 2 of volunteering, I was a ghost in that fire hall. Nobody noticed the guy pushing snack carts with a slightly uneven gait and a face that said, too tired to care. That was fine by me. It gave me time to observe. And man, there was a lot to see. For starters, these people treated bingo like Wall Street. There were alliances, rivalries, superstitions. One lady only used green daubers. Another rubbed her cards with a rabbit's foot soaked in what I hope was whiskey. One guy brought a plastic gnome that he set on the corner of every table like it was part of his religion. And then there was Donna. She walked in each week like she was the grand marshal of a parade only she'd been invited to. Same seat, 3rd row left, table closest to the coffee urn. She always brought her own cards, even though it was technically against the rules to reuse or bring in old ones. But Donna got away with it. She had that kind of presence. Part charm, part threat, part, don't you know who I am? The regulars called her Lucky D. Lucky D, my ass. She'd sit there with her smug little cushion, make a show of straightening her scarf, and then loudly critique the caller's pace like she was judging a symphony. She's rushing tonight, she'd say, eyes narrowed. That's how mistakes happen. Yes, Donna. The real threat here is the tempo of number calls. Not the fact you probably mark your free space before they even say G. But she had everyone fooled. Even the staff treated her like royalty. How's your son-in-law doing, Donna? They'd ask, trying to sound polite. She'd purse her lips, tilt her head just so, and say, well, he's coping. Like I was a stray she'd taken in from the cold. That night, after helping clean up and packing the extra hot dogs into foil, I stayed behind with Sandy, the event lead, retired school principal, sharp as hell. You're picking things up quick, she said, rinsing a tray. You ever run events before? Nah, I said, just learning, quietly. She looked at me and raised an eyebrow. You are quiet, watching folk like a cat watching chickens. I just smiled. That week, back at home, Donna was even worse. She'd ordered a set of inspirational wall decals online and spent Saturdays slapping them all over my kitchen. One over the coffee pot said, begin each day with a grateful heart. Another, in the hallway, this house runs on love and laughter. No, Donna, this house runs on caffeine, sarcasm, and the slow-burning desire for vengeance. She even put one over my bedroom door. Live, laugh, leave it to God. The next morning, I peeled it off. By now, I'd figured out how to get an exact copy of the bingo cards they used each week. It was just standard issue stuff from bingomaker.net, color-coded by day. I ordered a bulk pack online, same supplier. I even printed mock-up sheets using their format. I wasn't going to break the law. I wasn't looking to forge government documents. Just enough to simulate a minor error. My plan wasn't illegal. It was psychological. Because all I needed was one moment. Just one. Where Queen Donna looked like a fraud in front of her loyal kingdom. One moment where the people she ruled turned their backs. And when that moment came, she'd crumble. Because behind that syrupy voice and those perfectly coordinated scarves, Donna was nothing without perception. And I was about to change that. Publicly. Quietly. Permanently. By week 3, I was no longer just the snack guy. Sandy had bumped me up to floor support, which is basically a fancy title for the guy who walks around making sure people aren't trying to slip an old card from last month into tonight's game. That happened more than you'd think. Some folks tried the old I brought my own lucky card routine. Officially, that's not allowed. Every player has to use the cards provided that evening. Keeps things clean. Fair. I'd nod and smile and pretend not to notice. But I noticed everything. Especially Donna. She'd started bringing a pair of readers she didn't even need, just so she could squint dramatically at the numbers like some genteel southern widow. She kept her chips arranged in a perfect little line. She even had her own bingo bag. Purple, monogrammed, full of charms and knickknacks she claimed were blessed during a retreat in West Virginia. Honestly, if smug were a sport, she'd have been a gold medalist. The part that killed me wasn't just how confident she was. It was how accepted she was. She had the other players wrapped around her ring-laden fingers. People deferred to her, listened to her stories like they were scripture. She had an answer for everything, a quip for every complaint, and a criticism for every snack I offered. No one eats pretzel rods, Ricky. They're too aggressive. Too aggressive. I swear to God. That night, she called me over to her table and asked, "Do you think the caller's pulling too many ends? I've had 4 in a row. It's statistically suspicious." I smiled and said, "Might be the universe testing your luck." She tilted her head, smirked. "Darlin', I don't need luck. I just need people to follow the rules." Right? Her rules. And that's when I decided it was time. Back at home, I prepped the card. Now listen, this wasn't some Ocean's 11 heist. I didn't have lasers or blueprints or 11 guys named Sal. I had a scanner, some craft glue, and 2 weeks' worth of quiet observation. I knew the color and number sequence they were using. I knew how Donna handled her cards. I even knew she always went to the same vending machine between rounds 4 and 5 to get her sour cream chips. Routine is the faithful friend of revenge. So I took a genuine card from an earlier night and carefully altered it to match the current layout, with a few small but obvious mistakes. Not enough to raise suspicion when she looked at it, but enough to get her caught if she claimed to win. Then, on Thursday, I arrived early and loaded the snack cart like nothing was different. Wore my volunteer badge. Said hello to Sandy. Made small talk with a guy who smelled like pickles and Vicks. Donna arrived at 5:42, right on cue. She kissed Sandy on the cheek, handed her a tin of sugar-free cookies, and said, "I brought the good luck with me tonight." She didn't see me watching from behind the Gatorade cooler. Round 5 came, and just like clockwork, Donna stood up to get her chips. I moved toward her table casually, like I was picking up a discarded wrapper. No rush, no drama, just a man doing his quiet little duties. Then I swapped the card. That's it. One clean switch. No fuss, no fanfare. I walked away, heart pounding, pulse like a hammer in my ears. She came back, crunched into her chips, and never noticed a thing. The caller rang the bell. Round 5, here we go. Donna adjusted her readers, smiled at her coven, and dabbed her first number. She had no idea the card in front of her was loaded with just enough poison to sink her entire empire. And I just waited. Bingo games have a certain rhythm, pace. There's tension in the room, sure, but it's the kind old people thrive on. Predictable, safe. That night, though, round 5, I felt it in my chest like thunder in the walls. I stayed near the back, wiping down a table that didn't need wiping, pretending to rearrange napkins. I wasn't even watching her. Not directly. I already knew what was coming. The beauty of a plan like this is that it doesn't require improvisation. You just set the fuse and walk away. Donna always claimed round 5 was her sweet spot. Said she could feel it in her joints when her numbers were close. So when she dabbed 5 in a row in column B, her eyes lit up. Then came 3 in N, 4 in G. She straightened in her seat, hands poised like a concert pianist mid-solo. Then it happened. She slapped the table and shot up like a missile in orthopedic shoes. Bingo! Sharp, loud, triumphant. Every head turned. The caller paused. Hold it there, hon. We'll check your card. Donna smiled, cool as a cucumber in a climate-controlled fridge. She handed it over like she was passing down scripture. There was no doubt in her mind. Not a shadow. That was the thing about her. She didn't believe she could be wrong. Not ever. The caller, Roberta, a no-nonsense woman with Coke bottle glasses and decades of retirement frustration stored in her joints, took the card to the master sheet at the table up front. She held it up, glanced at the numbers, checked the sequence. Her eyebrows twitched. I saw it. That micro-movement of concern. That twitch meant the world. She leaned over, whispered to Sandy. They double-checked. Then again. The hall was quiet, the kind of quiet where even the air holds its breath. Finally, Roberta turned to the mic. Card is invalid. Donna blinked. I'm sorry, she said, but not like someone confused. More like someone offended. Roberta raised her voice a notch. Your card's been pre-marked, ma'am. It doesn't match the sequence for tonight's round. Gasps. Murmurs. Somebody actually said, oh no, like it was a funeral. Donna's face changed. Not shock, anger. The practiced smile twitched at the edges. Her hands trembled just a little. That's ridiculous, she snapped. I've been coming here for years. Everyone knows I would never, I'm not accusing you of anything, Roberta cut in, which is what people say right before they accuse you. Just saying the card isn't valid. We have to disqualify you from this round. Donna's face turned a shade of pink somewhere between raw ham and emotional sunburn. She looked around at her coven, Marge, June, Loretta, but none of them met her eyes. Not one. Because that's the thing about people like Donna, their power only works if others believe in it. And right then, the belief cracked. She sputtered a bit, tried to make it about respect and how dare you, but the caller had already moved on. The next number rang out. Game resumed. Life marched on without her. I watched her sit down slowly, her mouth tight, her eyes darting around like she didn't recognize the room anymore. And in that moment, she didn't. Because this wasn't her kingdom anymore. This was reality. And Donna had just been voted off the throne. By numbers. By silence. And by a bingo card. That had never been hers. Donna didn't speak on the car ride home. That might not sound like much if you've never met the woman, but for someone who treats casual conversation like a competitive sport, her silence was deafening. She sat in the passenger seat of Luann's Camry, arms folded, purse clutched like a shield. Mouth tight. Staring straight ahead, blinking slow like a cat planning a revenge poop in your shoes. I watched them pull into the driveway from the living room window. I didn't rush to the door. Didn't even mute the TV. Just sat there in my recliner, which I had quietly moved back to its proper place, dead center in front of the television, angled precisely for optimal viewing. Like God intended. Luann came in first. She looked tired. Confused. Said, something happened at bingo. I don't really understand it. Then Donna followed. Slower than usual. Paler. Her scarf was crooked, and that woman never had a crooked anything. Not even a thought. She didn't take off her coat. Didn't kick off her shoes. Just stood in the kitchen like she wasn't sure whether to cry or scream. Then she said it. They accused me of cheating. Like it physically hurt her to let the words out. Luann looked at her, then at me, then back again. Cheating? You? Mom, what the hell happened? Donna sighed, loud, performative, like she was summoning courage from her bones. They said my card was pre-marked. I had a perfect row and they claimed it didn't match the sequence. And did it? Luann asked plainly. Donna's eyes flicked toward me. Just for a second. And that second was enough. She didn't know anything, couldn't prove anything, but she felt it, and I wanted her to. I smiled. Warm, polite, just a man in a recliner home after a long day. That's rough, I said. Shame. I know how much that meant to you. Donna's mouth curled up like she tasted vinegar. She turned to Luann. I think I need to lie down. She didn't eat dinner. First time in weeks. No passive-aggressive comments about salt levels. No sarcastic questions about whether I could manage the remote on my own. Just silence. The next morning, she didn't come out until 10. No pancake breakfast. No scent of herbal tea. No unsolicited critiques about our kitchen lighting. Just a woman sitting at the table holding a coffee mug like it was the last warm thing left in her world. Luann kept glancing at her, waiting for answers. But Donna didn't offer any. She didn't say a word when I walked past her wearing my new compression brace and grabbing the mail. Didn't say a word when I whistled on the way back in. But I heard her later. On the phone. In the hallway. Whispering. They looked at me like I was garbage. Like I was nothing. After all the years I gave to that place. Pause. No, I can't go back. Not now. And that was it. The crack had become a fracture. And soon it would split wide open. Something changed in Donna after that night. Not all at once, mind you. She didn't explode or storm around the house demanding justice or threatening lawsuits like I halfway expected. No, this was subtler. Quieter. Like a balloon with a pinhole leak you don't notice until it's just a sad bit of latex clinging to the ceiling fan. First thing to go was the attitude. The passive-aggressive comments dried up. My shower shampoo was suddenly left untouched. The framed quotes about clean living started disappearing from the walls one by one as if they couldn't bear to witness her shame. She even stopped reorganizing things. That's when I really knew it was bad. Donna's spiritual diet was 2 parts black coffee, 1 part judgment, and 5 parts rearranging crap that didn't belong to her. Her days got quieter. She stayed in her room more. Left the house less. Every Thursday, she still put on her purple coat and pulled her bingo bag from the closet, but she just stood there in the foyer holding it for a few minutes before putting it back. She didn't know I was watching from the hallway mirror. That was the moment I realized it wasn't about bingo. It was about power. Identity. The illusion she'd built for herself over decades that she was important, admired, necessary. That she mattered more than everyone else in any room she walked into. The fire hall had been her stage. Bingo night was her spotlight. And I yanked the cord. And the fallout? Oh, it rippled. It started with a missed call from Marge. I saw it on the kitchen table, Donna's old lady flip phone buzzing across the surface like a nervous cricket. When she finally answered, I heard her voice from the den. No, I don't want to talk about it. I just know, Marge. Let's not pretend we were ever that close. Click. Next came the church ladies. The ones who used to drop off gluten-free muffins and homemade preserves like they were auditioning for sainthood. They stopped showing up. I don't know if word had spread, but in towns like ours, bad news travels faster than a loose goat on garbage day. Then came the final straw, an envelope from the fire hall. I never saw what was inside, but Donna opened it at the kitchen counter, turned red, then pale, then walked straight to the trash and shoved it in like it was radioactive. After that, she didn't come out of her room for 2 days. I'd hear her pacing, opening drawers, zipping luggage. The occasional mutter. I swear I caught her watching old episodes of Murder, She Wrote just for tactical inspiration. On the 3rd morning, she emerged with her suitcase. I'm going to stay with Aunt Beverly for a while, she told Luann. This house has bad energy. I almost choked on my cereal. Luann blinked. You're leaving? Just like that. Donna nodded, holding her spine stiff, her chin high like she was making some noble sacrifice. I think I've done all I can here. Luann, God bless her, said, you were supposed to be helping Ricky recover. Donna just looked at me. And for the first time in 2 decades of knowing that woman, after all the jabs, the smug little smirks, the eye rolls and backhanded compliments, I saw fear in her eyes. Not of me. Of irrelevance. She walked out, suitcase wheeling behind her, silence in her wake. She never said goodbye. Didn't even look back. And I didn't stand. Didn't wave. I just leaned back in my recliner, grabbed the remote, and turned up the volume. Because some things you don't need to celebrate out loud. Sometimes silence is the loudest revenge of all. The house didn't change all at once. Donna left on a Wednesday. Thursday morning, the sun came through the kitchen windows like it hadn't in months. I sat there with my coffee, not that herbal dirt water she used to brew, and realized for the first time in a long while that the place actually felt like mine again. The walls were still soft green, her doing, and the throw pillows still had little embroidered pineapples that made no damn sense in rural Pennsylvania. But something had shifted. The air was lighter. The quiet felt earned. I wasn't a man with a broken leg anymore. I was a man who'd won a war without firing a shot. Lewin noticed too. Not right away, but gradually. She started asking if I wanted the recliner moved back where it used to be. I told her it already was. She said, "You did that yourself?" "Had some motivation," I said. She laughed. A real one. First in weeks. The kind of laugh that made me remember why I married her in the first place. For a few days, we both walked around a little careful, like the house might still be haunted by residual Donna. But when Thursday rolled around again and passed without anyone humming church hymns in the hallway or asking if the dauber cap was properly sealed, we both exhaled. Later that night, I took a slow walk around the house. I went through each room Donna had fixed. The bathroom no longer had labels on the shampoo. I'd already pulled off the wall decals with a putty knife, though a bit of Choose Joy still clung stubbornly to the upstairs hallway like an exorcism gone halfway. In the kitchen, I opened the spice cabinet. Cinnamon was back next to the nutmeg. My grill rubs were back in play. Donna had stuffed them in the back of the garage under a box labeled Miscellaneous Pantry Toxins. I found them while looking for my socket wrench. Petty. So small it was almost funny. I smiled. The best part? I hadn't had to scream. I hadn't raised a hand or filed a complaint. I didn't send passive-aggressive texts or gossip to neighbors. I let her build her little kingdom, and then I pulled one card from the bottom. And it all collapsed. Like I knew it would. Lewin came up behind me while I was organizing the spice shelf, put her arms around my waist, and rested her head on my shoulder. "She really did a number on us, didn't she?" "She did," I said. "But she's gone now. She'll be back." "Maybe," I said. "But next time she'll know whose house it is." I turned around, kissed her on the forehead. Then I sat back down in the recliner, hit the foot lever, and propped up my leg. My leg which had healed. My chair in my house. And across the room, on the table, sat the one card I'd kept as a souvenir, the one that had ended Donna's reign. Framed. Underneath it, in little block letters, "Lucky D's last stand. Hey, everyone deserves a trophy." You might be wondering, did I ever tell anyone? Luann? No, not even a whisper. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I love her. And part of loving someone means letting them hold on to whatever version of peace they need. Her mother's exit from our home wasn't something she needed to dissect or analyze. She didn't ask too many questions, and I didn't offer answers. We both let the silence fill in the blanks. As for Donna, well, she never said anything either. Not outright. But we both knew. She called Lewin a few weeks after leaving, all sugar and apologies, spinning some story about needing time to reset and how Beverly's been a godsend. She even offered to send us a care package, lavender candles and gluten-free biscotti or some other penance dressed up as hospitality. Luann politely declined. And me? I listened to the whole call from the next room, smiling to myself as Donna asked, "And how's Ricky? Is he adjusting?" That little pause before the word. She couldn't even say it without swallowing her pride. Lewin said I was doing great. Better than ever, actually. And you know what? She wasn't wrong. There's something sacred about taking your house back, especially when it's been quietly stolen by someone who thinks you're too broken or too passive to stop them. When someone tries to shrink you in your own space, reclaiming it isn't just victory, it's restoration. It's therapy. It's revenge served in coffee mugs and remote controls and no longer having to smell lemon verbena everywhere you go. It wasn't about the bingo card. That was just the instrument, the tool. The revenge was never just about humiliating Donna. It was about reminding myself who I was before the fall, before the cast, before the patronizing baby voice, before my house got turned into a senior living Pinterest board. And maybe, in some twisted way, I did her a favor. Donna needed someone to hold a mirror up to the queen she thought she was. Maybe that moment at the fire hall, card in hand, spotlight flickering, was the only kind of truth she'd ever accept. Public, immediate, undeniable. She still hasn't returned to bingo. Not once. Word on the street is, her old seat was quietly claimed by another woman. Someone from the church choir. Apparently, she brought cupcakes and didn't treat the caller like a defective Roomba. There's a new queen now. Donna, from what I hear, has taken up scrapbooking. And me? I'm back on roofs. I take fewer jobs now. Nothing too steep. Nothing too risky. But I work with my hands again. I come home, kiss my wife, and sit in my perfectly angled recliner with a cold drink and the kind of satisfaction you don't get from money or applause. Because revenge isn't always about fury. Sometimes, it's about a slow, quiet shift back into your rightful place. Sometimes, it's about never saying a word and knowing they'll never forget what you did anyway. And that's the story of how I lost my leg for 3 months, but got my life back. One daub at a time.